Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Bed. I am the program director at Morehouse School of Medicine for Masters of Biotechnology, Special Concentration on Medical Cannabis. And it's a pleasure to be here. And today I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic. And the topic is the endocannabinoid system, which is a very unique system in our body and which interacts with various different cannabinoids and give us the therapeutic benefit of medical cannabis. So let's start off and talk about the endocannabinoid system. But before we go through talking about the endocannabinoid system and take a deep dive, I would like to give a global perspective of the journey of medical cannabis throughout the whole world. It is really, really important, this history, to understand that we are not the only one who are fighting this battle to give the respect to the plant what it deserves, because whole world, basically this plant actually travel throughout the whole world. If you start from the right hand side, that it was started from Asian continent, where in India and China there was, like, like it has been described in the Ayurvedic medicine, etc. And then slowly it is moved through the Europe and comes to United States, where that, like we recognize in 1900 the medical cannabis. There was a Eli Lilly tincture in the pharmacy in 1930, and there was a very famous doctor in 1798, Dr. William, and he did a lot of experiment that time, that old time, and continuously again and again proved that how important and valuable medical cannabis is for so many different diseases, including epilepsy, pain, etc. And then it's actually moved to United States, where we have Marijuana Tax Act, and then we put the drug in Schedule 1, which is really surprising for all of us. And then the invention keep going on with CB1, CB2 receptor, which is a part of the endocannabinoid system. So that's how this whole journey of the plant is basically keep moving on, with a lot of discoveries throughout the whole world globally, that we all are together to fight for this plant to give the recognition that what it deserves. Now that, like before we talk about the endocannabinoid system, I wanted to just give a very small understanding of that, like why we are talking about endocannabinoid system, because not very lot of people talk about the endocannabinoid system. The reason being is because phytocannabinoids are the cannabis plant, where that it has that more than 150 various different cannabinoids molecules, including CBD, THC, CBN, CBC, CBG, etc. But when we consume medical cannabis and then it goes to our body, it's go and interact with one of the unique system in our body, which is called endocannabinoid system. And endocannabinoid system is one of the system in our body, including all the other system like nervous system, respiratory system, circulatory system, reproductive system, etc. And these two systems interact with each other, as you can see in the slides, and then they give us the medical benefit, because, like once the molecule go and bind with the receptor, and then after that, like a downstream signaling activated, and we get a lot of medical benefit, depends upon that for what reason that we are taking medical benefit. This system is very unique, and the purpose of this system is to balance, that means homeostasis, maintain the homeostasis, which is called balance, within our mammalian body by working with other system in our body, as I mentioned. So basically it plays a very good team player. It interact with our immune system, brains, lung, vascular system, reproductive system, etc. And this system, endocannabinoid system, was discovered in 1992 by Dr. Hannes and Dr. Devane. Great discovery. So overall, that what we learned so far is endocannabinoid system that modulate the central nervous system, which is our spinal cord and our brain, and it's help maintain the homeostasis. That means the balance. So whenever body is imbalance, our body release lot of endocannabinoids to make it in a very stable stage. Now the important part is to think about that if body already have the endocannabinoid system, that why we need the phytocannabinoids. Because that, the endocannabinoid system has two parts. One is, it's basically all the system in our body had two different parts. One is the receptor and one is the molecule. So basically that, like body is allowed to release a certain amount of the receptor so that it can maintain the homeostasis in our body. But if body release more than what it needed, then it will be a chaos in the body that will disbalance. Why? because the endocannabinoid system has the receptors and the molecules, and the main receptors are CB1 and CB2 receptors. And CB1 receptors are mostly found in the nervous system and brain, whereas CB2 receptors are mostly found in the peripheral organs, especially in the immune cells. You can see we have so many different organs here that in the right hand side of the picture, where you can see gallbladder, liver, brain, they have CB1, CB2 receptors. On the other hand, our vascular system has CB1 receptors only. On the other hand, our immune system has only CB2 receptors. So various different organs express various different receptors. Body has various different molecules related to endocannabinoid system. Two major molecules are anandamide and 2-AG. These are we call endocannabinoids, or they act like neurotransmitters in our body, and which is naturally creates by our body, and that go and release in the body and go and bind with CB1 and CB2 receptors throughout our body. Now, this is the basically a detail, the breakdown of endocannabinoid system, which is that it has the molecules, which is anandamide and 2-AG we talk about. And then after that, it has various different receptors. Major receptors are CB1 and CB2, but it has receptors of GPR55, 18, TRBP1, PPR gamma, ion channels, and so on. And any chemical reactions that it needs the enzyme transporters and a lot of enzymes to activate or deactivate the reaction. So it has FAH, MAGL, PLG, DAGL, and etc. These are the various different enzyme transporters within the endocannabinoid system. Now we need to think about that, like what kind of CB1, CB2 receptor they are in our body. There are so many different kind of classification of receptors, and one of the main classification of the receptors is G protein coupled receptors affecting cyclic AMP. So CB1 is basically prominent in CNS, as we mentioned, spinal cord, specifically nociceptive areas. And CB2 is more prominent in lymphoid and immune tissues and modulate the pain and inflammatory processes. TSC agonist, so basically CB1 and CB2 bind with tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the psychoactive part of the compound that can bind with CB1 and CB2. But surprisingly, that CBD, which is a non-psychoactive major cannabinoids, it is antagonist. That means it cannot bind with CB1, CB2 receptors, but it bind with various different other receptors like GPR45, TRBP1, etc., and then indirectly modulate the activity and the binding activity and the signaling pathways of endocannabinoid system, major endocannabinoid receptors, which is CB1 and CB2. Now, it is important to understand that we keep seeing that CB1 and CB2 receptors express in various different organs in our body. How scientists discover that? Because there are a free database online. This is called the Human Protein Atlas, where you can find the expression profile of CB1, CB2 receptors in DNA level, in RNA level, or in protein level. And then you can start your project that, like, okay, you wanted to understand the binding of TSC with CB1 and CB2 receptors in specific organs, but you have to understand first that these organs express the CB1 and CB2 receptors or not. So that's why these resources are really helpful. And when we think about the CB1 and CB2 receptor pharmacology, then these molecules actually TSC and CBD, they bind with the receptors, which is CB1 and CB2, but these bindings are various different kinds. Either they are allosteric ligands or they are orthostatic pockets that where they bind, and there are orthostatic ligands, or either they are, like basically when we talk about that, like structural similarity. So CB1 and CB2 also shared a conserved orthostatic binding pocket for their agonist. So it is there are a lot of common variability there. And this is one of the slide that we shows that how various different phytocannabinoids works in our body. So this is a simple representation of our nervous system. And this is the presynaptic nerve and this is the postsynaptic nerve. When body create as anandamide 2-AG or we consume CBD or THC from outside, it's released in presynaptic cleft, and then after that it is bind and kind of like blocked down with a synaptic cleft, which carry these molecules to the end, where that is basically that like it's released within the synaptic cleft, because synaptic vesicles carry these molecules and release in the synaptic cleft, which is the area between the two synapse. And then after that, like the other postsynaptic nerve ending, that it receive the molecules, and then this process keep going on until the neurotransmitter is reached to a final destination. Now, this is the slide which is a very good representation of showing the value of medical cannabis. Why? Because medical cannabis value is only there because like we have a lot of endocannabinoid system in every part of our body, which you can see here. Then that's why that like whenever anything wrong is specific to that organ, either it is a brain stem, either it is a testis, either it is a spleen, either it is a lung, heart, prostate, uterus, ovary, or immune cell, spins, tonsil, etc., then endocannabinoid system could be a very potential therapeutic target for that specific disease of that specific organ. Now, this is a great representation of cannabinoid receptors as a therapeutic target. So, if you think about brain, that CB1 receptors are primarily expressed in brain, and they are helpful in nociception pain, drug addiction, neuroprotection, neurotransmission, up to appetite regulation, food intake, control of motor function, and mood, cognition, and perception. So you can see that like just expressing in one organ how much various different medical benefit we are getting from these receptors when the cannabinoids, phytocannabinoids, CBD and THC from the plant, that interact and bind with various different receptors in various different body system. For example, that like if CB1 and CB2 receptors are expressed in the liver, then it help in fibrogenesis, liver cancer, insulin resistance, etc. But also that when it is expressed in heart, it's play important role in heartbeat, controlling the heartbeat, hypertension, cardiac dysfunction, decrease in myocardial contractibility, etc. In the case of cancer, there's a lot of applications there. It can reduce the pain in the cancer patients. It can uh, the chemotherapy and radiotherapy kill the cancer patient's appetite, and medical cannabis can help to boost the appetite. It can reduce the nausea and vomiting. It can help to reduce the depression and anxiety of the cancer patients. It can also regulate the cancer cachexia and anorexia. So there's a lot of benefits there in every disease. Now the question is that like these endocannabinoids, where they are come from and where they are going. So in our body, as we mentioned, that if there's anything happen to our body and there's a disbalance, body get the alarm, the trigger, and then body start kind of releasing the endocannabinoid system. So basically left hand side, you can say that there are a lot of stimuli and the potential sources of endocannabinoid that are present in the circulation. Either it is food presentation, time of the day, exercise, inflammation, tissue injury, stress, etc. Body release endocannabinoid system to make the things in homeostasis or balance. Though one of the important thing to understand that the role of endocannabinoids in each and every organ is different, even though they are expressing in various different organ system. For example, that CB1 is basically that like it's plays an important role for neurotransmission, cognition, memory, control to motor function, and reward pathway and nociception pain when it is expressed in brain. But on the other hand, that like it is also play very important in bone remodeling or skeletal muscles, inflammation, etc. So every part of the body is different and every organ is different. That's why CB1 and CB2 or endocannabinoid receptors is plays important role as a different function in every part of our body. Now we could think about that like if endocannabinoid system is such a important system, such a valuable system, such a powerful system, is there a clinical trial happen utilizing this system? Yes, there were. We've been globally working on this system for a long time to create various different enzymatic inhibitors that we have shown here earlier, because this is the breakdown of endocannabinoid system. So that means these enzymes are helpful to activate or deactivate the reactions. And that's what where that we create a lot of molecules globally to block MAGL inhibitors or FAH inhibitors or kind of like exocannabinoids. And there are a lot of clinical trials happen in 2018 in Belgium and Australia and France, United Kingdom, etc., and United States, which shows that we are harnessing this valuable system in so many different ways, because it's really, really important to understand the assessment of the safety, tolerability, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics of those molecules which target these small inhibitors of endocannabinoid enzymes. Now we could think about that is it endocannabinoid system is only related with humans? No, that's not true. All animals, including vertebrates, mammals, birds, reptiles, and fish, and invertebrates, sea urchins, leech, mussels, nematodes, and others, everybody has endocannabinoid system except phyla, protozoa, and insecta. What is give us the indication? It gives us the indication is that cats and dogs are the major part of our society. Every household, majority of the household have the domestic animals, and those animals have lot of similar disorders like human, for example, bone disorders, or either arthritis, or either epilepsy, pain, skin problems, etc. And medical cannabis could be a very valuable tool to help those cats and dogs that who have the sleeping issues, epilepsy, etc. And now currently two states, Colorado and California, allow their veterinarians to openly talk and suggest to their patients about the medical benefit of cannabis related to various different disease pathologies with their dogs and cats, which is really a great initiative. Along with that we understand that like there's a really, really important aspect of that pharmacokinetic studies to understand that where drug is going, how the drug is affecting our body, and our body react to that drug. So there are a lot of studies has been done which is shown the pharmacokinetic studies in animals, and they are still limited, and lot of like they use the canine models, rats, and guinea pigs, etc. And this is the summary of these results. I'm not going to go through the detail, but just to kind of give a good perspective that it's a lot of research is happening, and lot of various different studies to understand the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. As I mentioned, a lot of papers are coming, a lot of books have been published on cannabis therapy in veterinarian medicine related to cardiovascular disorders, cancer, pain, asthma, vomiting, epilepsy, and so on, and skin disorders. There's a very unique term, because like so far that there are so many medical practitioners, they practice medical cannabis, and now that we have the tool to kind of like a genotype the expression profile of CB1, CB2 receptors, which is the endocannabinoid system receptors, and along with that how much body is releasing the endocannabinoids also, we can tell if somebody is not responding to the medical cannabis therapy, because as we know that medical cannabis is a personalized therapy. Everybody has a different expression of CB1 and CB2 receptors. Based on that, medical cannabis respond to patient's body. So basically that, there's a term is called clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome proposed by Dr. Ethan Rasso, that who is a who proposed this medical theory, that which is a deficiency of endocannabinoids, and which shows that, like why the patients are not responding, and which is the underlying pathophysiological mechanism for migraines, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, etc. And there's another term that, like we always talk about, that we all have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our body, in our gut microbiome. And, like basically that, like endocannabinoid system plays a very important role to maintain the healthy microbiome flora within our gut. So then we have to improve our endocannabinoid system tone to maintain the good microbiome system within our body. Now, the question is that how to keep our endocannabinoid system healthy. So there are a lot of ways. Heal your gut, that means gut microbiome and the level of bacteria within it are the major regulators for endocannabinoid system. So avoid unnecessary antibiotics, which has the ability to kill the good bacteria. Eat always right. That means pro-inflammatory foods such as fried food with a trans food, too many calories in general are bad for the ECS. Exercise is really important and is essential to improve the ECS tone. But also that, like if you sleep well, then, like it is also actually balance the ECS very well. And it is a really important part of our system. So we need to keep the ECS like, very healthy and very uh, very healthy, and our system very healthy, because ECS play a very important role, yeah, to maintain the homeostasis in our body. Now that, like we need to appreciate that, like as we keep talking about that, why this ECS is so important, why the it interact with phytocannabinoids and help in so many different neurodegenerative disorder. The reason being is because endocannabinoid system is in the brain, is primarily influence the neuronal communication and synapse, and along with that they affect the various biological function including eating, anxiety, learning, memory, reproduction, metabolism, growth and development, with a multiple array of actions throughout a nervous system, which said that, that means it plays a very important system, so that, we can harness this presence of endocannabinoid system if anything happen with the brain related to Alzheimer's, Parkinson, multiple sclerosis and so on. Same thing that, like with gastrointestinal system, because we have so many different disorder, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, or gastrointestinal cancer, etc. And medical cannabis could be very beneficial for all those disorders, only because of the presence of endocannabinoid system in our gastrointestinal system. And same thing for the immune system. We know that immune system protect us from various different foreign antigens, and there are so many different kind of immune cells. Either it is NK cell, dendritic cell, macrophages, eosinophils, neutrophils, monocyte, mast cells, and they all have, you can see that expression of endocannabinoid system. So that means immune cell express the component of endocannabinoid system. That means they have the ability to interact with our phytocannabinoids, which is CBD, TSC, CBN, CBG and so on. So that means most of the immune cell express cannabinoid receptors and the enzyme for enzymatic degradation, and they are very important part of to target the various different immune related disorder by medical cannabis. And this is another representation of the function of various different endocannabinoid system, which is involved in the regulation of immune cell trafficking, along with that, effector cell function. And then again we talk about the bone. So, our bone is really an important part of our body, and again that everywhere endocannabinoid system is everywhere, and it is located in osteoblast and osteoclast cell membrane, and where you can see lot of different receptors are present. That's why bone fracture and bone regeneration, or osteoclast or osteoblastogenesis or osteoclastogenesis, it is really important, and it plays a very important role. Medical cannabis, bone related disorders, either it is osteoarthritis, bone pain, or bone fracture and quick healing, etc., plays a really important role because of the presence of the endocannabinoid system. This is the most important slide that I wanted to emphasize, because endocannabinoid system is present in the male and female reproduction system. This is just a diagram which shows the female reproductive system and shows the presence of endocannabinoid system in fallopian tubes, ovary, cervical canal, cervix, vagina, ovarian ligament, and uterus, etc. Why this is really important? The reason being is because the release of endocannabinoids AEA, OEA, 2-AG, etc., plays a very important role as a biomarker for so many different disorders, female reproductive disorders, either it is uterine receptivity, progression of pregnancy, ectopic pregnancy, or PCOS, preeclampsia, endometrial carcinoma, ovarian cancer, leiomyocarcinoma, embryo quality, etc. So which is really a huge implication of endocannabinoids in our system. Also, that we heard about a lot of a very debatable discussion that, like role of medical cannabis in pregnancy, and definitely there's a lot of good significant role of various different non-psychoactive cannabinoid during the pregnancy to reduce the inflammation and reduce the vomiting and nausea, etc. But also we don't have a long-term studies to show that, like what is the long-term effect of consumption of medical cannabis through the pregnancy on the fetus growth and the baby's growth. So that's why that it is really, really important to contact your doctors to talk all the details. And still lot of research going on to understand the molecular mechanism by which the endocannabinoid system participate in various different stages of pregnancy, and we don't understand a lot about that. But overall, that I'm going to conclude our discussion today and our presentation that 1900 that scientists discovered the endocannabinoids, which is basically a molecule produced by the human body. And endocannabinoid receptors are present throughout our body, including our skin, immune cells, fat cells, bone, liver, pancreas, skeletal muscle, you name it. Therefore, endocannabinoid system is involved in wide variety of processes, including pain, memory, mood, appetite, stress, sleep, metabolism, immune function, and reproductive function. And endocannabinoid system interact with our phytocannabinoid system, which is the plant, medical cannabis plant, which is a valuable system in our body that still need to be fully researched to be completely understand the interaction of various different phytocannabinoids, which is medical cannabis plant, including more than 150 molecules, including terpenes and flavonoids. So there's a lot of work need to be done, but we are progressing very fast, and we are exploring this fascinating system really quick, and getting to utilize with as a biomarker as well as in a medical benefit, and to understand the pharmacokinetics, dynamics, mechanism, etc., will be very helpful for the patients to create new formulations. As I mentioned, that genomic data will be really, really helpful to collect, because it's a personalized medicine. Everybody express various different kind of endocannabinoid receptors as molecules in the body, so they respond to medical cannabis differently. So I hope that everybody has a good time to see the presentation. And with that, I will conclude. And thank you so much for your attention. And looking forward to hear any questions if you guys have. Thank you.